reviews, discussions, and theories about films in horror, sci-fi, and genre. This is the Horror Deconstruction. Like, share, and subscribe to hear more.
It's the Horror Deconstruction. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, most likely on YouTube. Give us a like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell icon. Let people know about the show with your host, Komp. And today's film is...
Eat. Pray. Love. 2022. Pray. 2022.
I almost missed what you were saying there. I get it. Prey, 2022, the origin story of the Predator in the world of the Comanche Nation 300 years ago. Naru, a skilled warrior, fights to protect her tribe against one of the first highly evolved predators to land on Earth. Directed by Dan Trachtenberg. Written by Patrick Eisen. Story by Dan Trachtenberg. Story by Jim Thomas, based on characters by... starring Amber Midthunder. Whoa! Dakota Beavers.
I love that name, actually. That's amazing.
And Dane DeLigero. So, Danny, why did I pick Prey?
Because it's good. You know, I didn't even know this movie came out. Like,
yeah,
I'd never heard of it until you told me.
I was almost going to be like, let's go review The Entity instead, because everybody's
talking about this movie. And I would have assumed
movie.
it would be stupid based on the other Predator sequels and shit, but no, that was good.
Yeah, no, it was, so Prey is obviously the prequel, reboot, / sequel to the Predator films that we all know as Predator, Predator 2, The Predator, Predators.
I never saw Predators. I saw Predator.
I did not like that movie, but people love them. I think it was directed by Nimrod Antal, the guy who directed some of the episodes of Stranger Things Season 4, like one of the really good episodes. Well, they're all pretty much good episodes of that season. But yeah, I think it was Nimrod Antal, because that name Nimrod stays with me. But people liked it. It starred the guy from The Pianist. Who's that actor who's like really serious?
I know who you're talking about. I just can't think of his name.
He was in The Jacket, a fantastic movie we got to go talk about one of these days. But yeah, I just didn't like it, and I was like, oh, like I was watching because it's basically just Predator 1, but you know, it's the same movie. Well, this is basically Predator 1 also. All Predator movies are Predator 1,
but like, you know, people without machine guns, which is more interesting.
Yeah, and that, and well,
I mean,
anyway,
this is more interesting
that
to me,
the Predators used to like dump like people on. And did you see it? You saw it, right? Did we see it together?
Yeah.
I feel like I know I saw it with somebody, but I forgot who it was. It had to be
you
I
saw that
it
one.
With. But anyway,
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, I didn't like it. And Lawrence Fishburne, like it was the first time I saw Lawrence Fishburne act badly in a movie.
What's the other guy that was in it that he ends up being like crazy or something at the end?
Which is a spoiler. Yeah, that's the kid from that '70s show. That was my only favorite part of the movie.
Guys,
yeah.
I mean, it's a skippable movie. This, however,
people love that movie.
Prey,
people love that movie.
Very not skippable.
Yeah, they love Predators, but they hate Predator 2, which like pissed me off. So it gave me great reassurance.
It's really great that they kind of just fixed a age-old question about Predator 2 in there.
Which you know that they just made that shit up. In the comic books, there was an alternate version of that gun where there was a reason, which it was like a pirate who killed all the
I was reading a bit about that.
I think he killed his mutinous crew.
He got backstabbed by his own crew or whatever.
Yeah, so then the Predator killed all those guys. So that was the original version, like comic books. But they don't really, like, when you're in movies, they don't really go with canon of comic books.
I mean, they didn't not go with... Well, I guess, I mean, for all we know, maybe that French guy stole it from... Yeah, I don't know, whatever.
The other Predator movies obviously were Alien vs. Predator, which were the lesser... I don't know how you can be worse than Jason vs. Freddy. I didn't watch them. I just looked at the Predators in the movie, and they were like the size of like Arnold Schwarzenegger. They were just gigantic, like muscle-bound. Like, I understand if they're tall... Because the original Predator and Predator Part 1 was
fight aliens, you know?
The original Predator in the first movie was 7 feet tall, the actor who played them. So, like, that's cool that they're huge.
the one in this movie was huge, too.
No, him too, yeah. So, that's what I like. So, for all the Predator movies, I like the first one. I liked...
But there are different breeds of Predators, too. Because we saw that in the first Predator sequel, like Predator. Or
they all come from the
Fishburne one.
They all come from the same planet, and they give them different, like,
But there's, like, bigger ones that, like... beat and enslave the smaller ones.
That was in Predators, I think. Yeah. So I liked Predator 1. I liked Predator 2 a lot because it went a completely different way than the first film did. It was like more of a 90s action movie. Well, the first one was obviously like it was an 80s movie, but
it was more of like a crime action movie,
right? Which I liked about it because it was the concrete jungle. Predators. I don't know which one was the sequel after Predators. I didn't give a shit about. I never saw the Predator versus Aliens. The Predator, which is a movie I think you didn't watch, was the one that everybody hated. It was written by Shane Black, the guy who wrote Iron Man 3. So I'm sure you would love that movie.
I hated Iron Man 3.
I love Shane Black. Shane Black wrote. He wrote and directed The Good Guys and Kiss Bang Bang. 2 fucking incredible movies. Like, you really should just watch them. They're great. And but he did the Predator. Predator itself, the one that was before this one, it didn't work as a movie, but the characters were fucking great in it. But you know, what can you do? You want to see a Predator movie. So going to this one, Prey, which is directed by Trachtenberg. He did one of the he directed a sequel, a movie about the giant monster that ran around destroying New York.
Oh, the one that's like a huge big thing on the Statue of Liberty and the thing.
It was fun watching it in the theater. Yeah, it was fun watching it in the. Yeah, it was fun watching that movie in the theaters, but I hate that J.J. Abrams does these things where he designs like the monsters like realistically, and they just have no sort of originality to them. Even though they're supposed to look like if they actually lived on the planet, they suck. I just don't like the designs of his monsters, and that's what I didn't like about that movie. But it was a fun movie. I believe they killed off the wrong characters, but he directed the sequel to that film, which was I think it was Dan from Roseanne. And he kidnaps this woman, and he keeps her in his house because he thinks there's an alien invasion. Really good movie. It was an interesting movie. People hated the ending to that one because it turned out to be science fiction. And then there was a third movie which was not that good. So he directs this film, and I think he did a fucking great job with this movie. Like, I was very surprised because it's a movie that went straight to Hulu.
It's a solid movie, and it's really cool because it's like one of like 3 movies with Native American cast in it.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about the other one that we saw, the Blood. What was that movie about the Native American? There was a zombie.
Good. Like,
no, it wasn't. It was not a good movie. We saw a movie about Native Americans where they were the only ones who were not infected by a zombie disease.
Something, and it was because their blood was still in touch with the earth, so they couldn't get infected or whatever.
That sounds like horseshit. It sounds more like an interesting case that's like a reverse of what happens.
But it turns into just a generic zombie.
Yeah, right. I mean, they're all zombie movies that eventually turn generic. But
it was cool that it
was playing on indigenous cast. It was playing on the idea of how when people came and with their new disease they infected Native Americans, and this was like the reversal of it. But that movie was not good. But it was great that it had a Native American cast, but it just turned out to be bad. And this one has an all basically 95% Native American cast, and then there's some French actors. So this takes place in the 1700s. We follow the main character, Naru. I was waiting for them to say her character's name throughout the movie because I was like, who's that actress? Aubrey Plaza. She looks at the bear get killed, and her eyeball. She looks at her brother getting killed, and her eyeballs turn into like the size of fucking golf balls. They're like gigantic eyes. She's a very
Aubrey Plaza. Yeah, I know who she is.
Yeah. So she is a very she's a good actor. She's a very fetching young lady. So she is in this film playing Naru, who is like a Disney princess kind of character, like the woman who can stand on her own. And the thing is, what I like about this is because ahead of this movie even coming out, who people were crying about a woman. Oh, it's going to be a skinny young girl taking down a predator.
Oh, were they complaining about it?
Of course.
But she's a skilled fucking warrior.
Of course. We'll get to that, but that's what people do before these movies come up, because people just have knee-jerk reactions to everything. Then there was other people.
Well, you know what? This is a side note, but they've made the term woke so meaningless that they recently were complaining because Cracker Barrel has a vegetarian sausage option now, and all these people are boycotting it because they've gone woke now.
Yeah, it makes complete
sense. Oh, you want my colon to be healthy with vegetables?
Oh yeah,
you're woke.
We're gonna start eating bugs. But the thing is with that, there were also people complaining before the movie came out. They were like, oh, what? Somebody had made up a rumor that she teams up with the Predator to only kill white settlers, and there's it's only French guys. So of course it was bullshit. This is just people looking for bullshit to yell about in the movie. But that aside, now everybody's shutting up. Even the people that were complaining about that before the movie came out. When the movie actually came out, then they were like, oh, yeah, it's a good movie. They know it's a good movie now. Yeah, they love the movie, but then they'll be like, oh, but it's such and such. They'll find something to find negative about it just so they don't lose face. I can't stand people. I hate them all. They should all be destroyed. Yeah, so the thing is, this movie was going straight to Hulu. So I was like, when I first heard that, I was like, uh-oh, like this is a straight to a streaming movie. And for the most part,
Hulu finally made their big break.
Yeah, finally,
because they've always been kind of like no name.
Yeah, they also have the Orville, which I haven't gotten to the season of, which is a great series. I have to watch that. It's like a Star Trek show by Seth MacFarlane. Anyway. So Naru is this young Disney princess-like character who can take care of business, and she's believable. Like, you see her roughing in it.
Yeah, she's great.
They didn't quote another term by people who are offended by everything that are not the snowflakes, I guess, are saying that like the Mary Sue. You know how they did with Rey from the Rey from the Star Wars, which I think
Rey
kind of
was a Mary Sue, but
that's probably true. But in this one, she's not a Mary Sue. Like, you see her hunting. Make up that axe that she can throw and pull back. You see her go through shit through the movie. Yep. And which
falls on her ass. She gets attacked by a fucking bear and almost dies. Like,
like she didn't just have a lightsaber and automatically was able to use it. Like, I didn't have a problem with Rey in the Star Wars movie. I thought it was just a generic, boring movie anyway. Those movies, except for the second one. So in this one, you actually see her put the work in. Like, her character has motivation to sort of prove everybody wrong, because her brother, who's another great character, played by Dakota Beaver.
He kind of looked like Corey Feldman. Is it
I
Corey
can see
Feldman
that.
I
can
Corey?
see that. Glad he didn't start singing.
It's one of the Coreys. He looked like.
Glad he didn't start singing and doing Michael Jackson moves. If you look at any Corey Feldman videos of him performing, it's really like sad, and it's just like 5 or 6 people watching him, and then they actually gave people back their money and they apologized to them because it was like during a baseball game. It's really I mean, like, I don't know what happened. So Naru is there with her brother. There is a what is it, like a rite of passage that the warriors usually get, and she wants one badly.
Let me see if I could find the word.
She wants to bring that fucking lion back to prove to her tribe that she's as good a warrior as they are, as any guy is in the set. And I gotta say, I was super impressed at, like, when I thought the budget was gonna be cheap at the beginning. There's a scene, there's a shot.
You thought it was gonna be cheap?
Well, it was for Hulu. Any streaming. Like, remember the Monsters trailer? You saw how that looked? Like, that's what I expected for this.
That's like another level, though. That was like...
And that's going straight to Netflix, so I'm sure that's going to...
There was this thing when I was a kid called 3D Movie Maker. It was like a cheap-ass program. It had, like, little built-in characters. You could put, like, floating text. And me and my friends used to be, like, obsessed and make funny movies on it, and then we would record the voices and stuff. And that was like the Monsters trailer.
I used to have the Spider-Man movie maker, and I would just have Spider-Man having sex with Mary Jane all the time. It was just, I was completely bored. But anyway, one more thing about the Monsters movie is, like, the trailer, once it came out, they're like, oh, this is horrible. Everybody's laughing. And even you and I and Thea was like, this looks like shit. And then once they said it was for Netflix, they're like, oh, okay, because they expect that to look like shit. And I'm like,
Netflix has some great shit.
Yeah, Netflix has some good movies.
Like
my dad just watched Day Shift, and he thought it was great, which is like a Jamie Foxx hunting vampires movie with Snoop Dogg. So maybe we'll talk about that one day. But anyway, back to this. The part where she is walking, she's walking through her tribal land, and like there's a camera following her, and you go through her little like reservation with all the people. I was like, whoa! Like, it was an incredible fucking shot. Like, it looked
everything
really
looked
beautiful.
Amazing in the movie.
Yeah. People were complaining about the CGI bear, but I'm like, it's all right. Like, it didn't bother me that bad. Like, it did like a cartoon at some points, but it wasn't that offensive.
It ran a little weird, I have to say, but like, I don't know. I was looking that's how bears run. I actually don't know how they run. Like, I've never.
I was looking at the water splashing. It looked kind of goofy, but I knew Danny's favorite character was the dog, right? Once I saw the dog in the movie,
yeah. Apparently, they adopted that dog. That's from an adoption shelter.
Oh, good.
That dog.
It's I don't know what kind of dog is it, because it looked like a Shiba Inu, but it was like something
no,
else,
it's not
obviously.
a Shiba Inu. I don't know what kind of dog it was. I'm bad with the breeds of dogs.
Really? I thought you were a dog master.
Yeah, I love dogs, but I'm terrible with the names of the breeds.
Okay, fair enough.
I'll look it up.
So the whole film is basically her trying to prove to her family that she can be as good as the other people. She eventually gets knocked out when she tries to kill the lion, which is kind of shitty because the brother kind of took all credit for killing the mountain lion, which he probably could have because he actually did kill it.
Yeah, but then he kind of apologized after.
He does.
But
you can see what she actually stabs it midair when it tries. So she did slow it down, which he admits to after he gets fucked up. But there's a whole bunch of things in this film that
Yeah, wow. This dog had no. They adopted this dog from a shelter. It had no film training prior to Prey, but they kept writing it in the scenes and training it. That's amazing.
So I mean, there's lots of gore in the movie. I mean, some stuff they usually don't really show, like the Predator. What did you think of the Predator's design in this one?
I liked it. I liked the skull looking mask and everything. It kind of went with the Native American theme, actually. The skull, like it kind of reminded me of like an ox skull or something like that.
I assume that was a creature from another planet skull, because if this was the first time it was on Earth.
Yeah, no, it is, but it kind of went with the idea of like skulls. And
I wasn't I wasn't a
nature.
fan of how big the mouth of it was. Like usually the Predator's mouth, it's like a tarantula or a spider's mouth. But apparently this looks like a design, the original design that the guy who did, I think this was like a design based on James Cameron's original sketch or something.
Okay.
Or something or not. No, James Cameron was the one who designed, who did a sketch of the Predator's face, and that's what they went with in the original one. I think somebody, because the original Predator design was like a bug. If you watch, if you look at any behind the scenes footage, yeah, it looked like a praying mantis.
I'm glad.
And it was
they
Jean-Claude
didn't go
Van
with that.
Damme. It was Van Damme playing it, so it would have been a actually shorter Predator, believe it or not. So what happened is, I think the director had a design of it and showed it to James Cameron on an airplane. And I forgot that James Cameron is an illustrator, and if you ever see his artwork, he's very good.
Really?
And he sketched it up and he gave that whole design, and they were, oh great, so they went with some variation of that. And I think one of the sketches was the inspiration of this design. So I like that they went back with that, and of course I would see the incredible respect they gave to the second Predator movie with the gun being one of the French invaders in this film.
Yeah, I was really happy
guys.
that the gun is finally explained in the movie. I mean, I guess in the comics it was.
I mean, I never was bothered by the gun. I just assumed they just took the gun from somebody in the 1700s. I can't believe that was a big.
Yeah, but they made it
so
dramatic, and.
Yeah, people were so confused that they gave him a gun at the end of Predator 2. I'm like, but he killed a predator, so they probably gave him a fucking prize. I don't know. I guess.
So are the predators that come here? Are they just like the equivalent of rich people on their planet? Oh, I'm gonna go to the safari and hunt
I guess
people.
They're like a battle race. I can imagine if that planet of predators went to war with somebody, who the fuck could win against them? You know what I mean? You look at all that weapons, because they're essentially.
Unless you had an army of Arnold Schwarzeneggers and Narus against them.
Yeah, it's like, come here.
That was a really good. That was a good one. Wow.
Predators went to war with somebody, they'd have all that. Because I mean, that predator coming down here is overpowered. They can become invisible. I mean, that's just winning half of a battle, honestly, because that's how they defeated the brother. Because
it's if he's not giving them a fair shot, if they know what they're getting into, the brother knew what he was getting into, so he was prepared. But the thing's sneaking around. No one's expecting an invisible thing to shoot them, of course. So, yeah, that's not fair.
It's always, to me, Predator 2 was the only time it was sort of on a level playing field, because enough people had guns running around there. And obviously Predator 1, I guess, is the same case. You can't, beat an invisibility fucking shield, honestly. If he just kept up the whole time like that, then you'd probably just
I thought it was pretty funny when they're shooting at, the French people are shooting at him. And he holds up the shield, and then you see them all oh shit, they're reloading their musket with a stick.
And the thing, people were oh yeah, that was funny. The thing is that people were surprised how the Predator fucks up, and so he fucked up in all the other movies. He dies in every movie.
Why? What did he fuck up? Because he shot himself? You mean?
Well, yeah. I mean that he loses towards a person who's an ancestor. You know what I mean? Somebody back then. But he's an ancestor too. He's back then also.
Yeah, but she's a hunter her whole life.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying people back then had lived to hunt. It's not like now where people just kind of doing whatever.
If they didn't hunt, they would die.
In Predator 2, it makes sense because in Predator 2 makes sense because people are just they're regular people in Predator 2. They just live in a shitty city. They're more in Predator 1. He's fighting commandos. Those are people who are trained to kill. In Prey, these are people who are hunting to survive. So I would say these people are even probably more tougher because you're hunting to live. Now
they're trained to survive with fucking guns. In this, they're trained to survive using making anything.
Of course,
they built a fucking sledge out of sticks and carried their friend home and shit.
Of course,
they're actually very skilled at everything.
And now we have apps to like deliver pizza to our house, so we don't have to give a fuck. Like Predator can make lunch out of everybody nowadays. But
I wish you would.
Me too. I even like the nods to the film. They were like over the top, like nods hitting over the head, like the part where it was like if it bleeds, it can die, like so that kind of stuff. And people were like upset about them. Like, it's a fucking movie about an alien, bro. Don't worry about that. It's a
no. I like movie. That they did.
Of course, it's
stupid. True, though.
So let me see. Those still and also the one thing that I really liked is when the Predator used that targeting system. It didn't shoot lasers; it just shot fucking like arrows. So it shows you.
Yeah, they were like metal bolts.
I don't know how you can have a targeting system that doesn't use lasers, but I guess that makes sense. So let's see. Though still advanced this is from IMDb. Though still advanced, the technology used by the feral predator, that's what they call him in this one, is much simpler than previous films. E.g., example given, the camouflage sections are larger. Oh, okay. So that's why you can kind of make him out a little bit.
I was a little confused by one point.
What's that?
Well, it's just a minor detail, but she was hitting him with his own stick. It's right when she chopped his arm off or whatever. And
there was some stuff that didn't visually didn't make any sense. Like there's a part where
the stick kind of didn't work for her or wouldn't hit him with his own stick or something. I don't know. I was a little confused.
Were you talking about when he chopped his own hand off? Because that happened in Predator 2, I think, and somebody pointed it out, but I still could not see how that happened in this one.
Well, the stick was extended, and then she went to hit him with it, and all of a sudden it shortened.
Oh, I think it was sort of like. Did you ever see? Did you see Blade 2 or Blade 1? Remember Blade 1? Where
I've seen all the Blades. Yeah.
Blade, you couldn't use his weapons because it would blow your hand off and shit. So maybe it was sort of like that. Okay. So it kind of just. I think it retracted when it didn't recognize it was her. That was also in Dread, and one of the guns that blew the guy's hands off and stuff like that. But one thing I didn't get is when the Predator was chopping down the Comanche guys, and it chopped off his hand, and then it seemed to chop off his other hand, but he still had his hand. So, but I was I didn't understand what happened. So there's some fuckery with the visuals of this movie, which doesn't make any sense, action wise. I thought it was a pretty clear action film. I think this was kind of the best action of all the movies.
There was yeah, well, when it gets into the action.
Yeah,
so
right.
It was a little slow-moving.
Yeah, because the action in Predator 1 was more 80s action where it was just somebody standing there blasting people away.
I mean, the first, I'd say the first 40 minutes of the film is, getting to know the characters and then, a series of, her having the worst day ever as all these animals are attacking her.
And for me, it felt like a pretty short movie. The movie was near an hour and 47, but it went pretty quickly. So apparently the feral predator's biomask is made from the skull of a river ghost from Predators, the movie with the six, the prison planet one.
A river ghost?
I don't know. It must have been one of the creatures that was in the movie. I don't remember really anything in that.
But the predators that we're seeing are the ones that were enslaved in that movie, right?
I believe so. I believe that's the one where they dumped their prisoners
we're supposed to feel bad for them because they're
I think that was a planet of prisoners, and they threw the Predator prisoners in there too. So those the really fucked up guys. So this movie was also released dubbed in Comanche, and I was gonna watch it in the Comanche, but it's only dubbed. It's not the actual scenes were shot in the Comanche language because I would have.
They did speak in Comanche though.
I know they did small parts, but they did the whole film when they dubbed it in Comanche. But I'd rather see a movie where they actually spoke it as opposed to dubbing. They did
with their own voices. Yeah, that'd be great.
Which they did, but it's dubbed, so it's the actors went in and just redid the voices.
Would be fucking awesome, and I would love if they did this. If they did maybe a half an hour animated thing of this same storyline, but in Comanche with subtitles or something. The way they did Animatrix, remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that would have been great. So apparently there was also a Predator fan film that came out years ago. I remember just looking at the image of it, but I just bothered not to watch it. And they were oh, they ripped us off because it was also about a Native American woman fighting a Predator. And I'm listen, the Predator movies all around I'm sure. I don't think Dan Trachtenberg sat down and watched it. Who knows? I'm sure he probably had an idea of seeing it before, but this is I haven't seen that movie.
They can't copyright the idea of a Native American. If that's all they took from it, if they took the actual storyline, okay. But
so what do you think?
They were inspired? Oh, let's make a movie about Native Americans. It doesn't mean that they ripped them off.
Did you appreciate how she defeated the Predator? Because it wasn't just her. Her brother was in there. Yeah. He fucked up the Predator in the movie.
Yeah, he was great. He got real good.
So a lot of people fucked up the Predator in this movie. It wasn't just one person because the Predator was getting hit by many.
But for the most part, it was really all that brother and the and her.
Naru, yeah. So I did like it.
Those French people did nothing. They sucked.
Yeah, they essentially redid the same thing remember when Schwarzenegger comes out of the mud where he couldn't, that's why the Predator couldn't tell who he was, and then the Predator himself got fucked up and got sucked down into the mud. But
the thing is, why did the thing target him if he had the mud on him? Because he would be cold, unable to get the heat vision.
Because there was no heat. Yeah, he had no heat on it. That's how he for the most part found the way out of it. But then I think he fell down that river and fell into the water, and that's what wiped the mud off of him. But in this, like, she had this kind of herbal medicine that they used to, like, cure. Could you imagine back then, bro, how hard it was to live? Like, you just have to make up and be like, just swallow random shit and be like, yeah, this is good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how the fuck do you just randomly guess that this herb will make you feel better?
And you get woken up by somebody fucking kicking you, like. Ugh.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, people are sort of complaining about how the Predator was like killing unarmed people, like the French guy who got his his foot chopped off. But I'm like, he just saw it and thought it was a threat, so he just killed him. I think was there anything that didn't work for you?
No, but I was about to ask, when the Predator kills himself, isn't he in the mud hole at that point? I'm kind of forgetting at this moment. Doesn't he rise out of the mud hole and then get shot in the head by himself?
It might be the reverse order, because I think he gets sucked down into the mud hole. I think he does crawl up and then it happens, right?
And he's in the mud hole.
Yeah, he was
confused.
With his head out. He was confused at why the targeting.
Yeah,
system
why would
was
it target him if he had no heat?
Because the brother was the one that knocked it out in the first place. He fucked up the targeting system.
Okay.
But I enjoyed it, man. I really liked it. It says debuted on #1 in Hulu. It's the biggest movie premiere in the streaming service. I almost wish, like, because there's going to be a sequel. I hope that they don't follow the Native American girl anymore. I hope the sequel will be
good. Like, it's hard
I hope
to
it's
say.
something else, because people were saying, maybe it'll be cool in a cowboy movie. Maybe, I don't know, because I wasn't expecting it to.
Well, I mean, if they stay in that time period and they go to like the Pilgrims,
that'd be the 1800s.
That could be cool.
Oh, that's. What are they gonna do with those big muskets? Where the Predator's gonna come through Thanksgiving and shit and steal their turkey or something? What the hell's gonna happen in the movie? Say that. Well, what's that?
It would be good. The Predator will win, and it will give the people from the first movie some comeuppance.
But I almost wish they don't follow the Native Americans again in the sequel.
Comeuppance is the wrong word. It will give them some closure. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah. This is the 7th installment in the Predator franchise, counting.
You can honestly skip. Oh, I'm sorry.
I wonder if they have
Did you hear how loud that was? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did hear that. I wonder if they count the Aliens versus Predator movies, because those are awful. Well, I haven't even seen them.
Yeah, no, those are not. I think the second Alien versus Predator was.
That's what I heard, because it was more like a slasher movie, the second one.
But they're not like. I remember being. First of all, it was like PG or something.
No, not the second one. The second one was.
I don't know.
The second one was hardcore R-rated.
Although I wonder if this was rated R. It might not be, actually.
This, I think, was rated R as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So did you?
Not that you have to have lots of cursing, but I mean, it's a movie about a thing that kills things. Like,
there's graphic gore. There's graphic gore in the movie. Like, I mean, not overly graphic, like say Predators versus Alien Part 2, but I think. I didn't really have a problem with this movie at all. I actually enjoyed it like wholly throughout. I thought it was great. I thought the acting was really good. I liked the characters. Naru is a great main protagonist in the film. The Predator looked cool. I just had a little issue with the janky mouth of it. But what am I supposed to say? It's supposed to be like the original, one of the original Predator.
I don't like its mouth.
No, I like that it's smaller than the other ones. I always had a problem with the Predator's face because it's just so disturbing. But maybe that's probably like a sexual nature thing. But anyway, what rating would you give Prey 2022?
I'll give this movie a 9.
Okay.
Out of 10. You're some asshole misogynist guy that is, trying to take this girl back because you think she can't take care of herself, and she beats you up, and then you keep taking her back, and then you get killed, and you suck, and then she saves the day.
Yeah, it's good for her. That's the one thing that they should have done. They should have had her do a battle scream at the end, a battle cry, right? Like her brother.
She did do a battle scream.
No, she didn't. She just sort of, thanks you for reminding me. Her battle cry, what did it sound like? Oh, man, it reminded me of something, but I couldn't think of what it was. Oh, shit. She does, like, this weird battle cry that sounds funny.
She does do a scream or something at one point.
Yeah, she's like, oh, oh, oh. Like, it sounds like a weird cry. I couldn't think of what the fuck I was thinking of what it sounded like. But It sounds like Sam Kinison. Oh, 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 oh! But anyway, yeah, I wish at the very end, because she just sort of looks sort of sad at the end. But
her brother died.
She should have screamed. Yeah. So what do you think? The Predators just yanked the gun from her at the end of it? They give it to Danny Glover in the future? Like, there's a reason why he have the gun, right? So something must have happened. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out, yeah.
Imagine they probably give her,
But at least we know the gun where it is.
Maybe the Predators take those poor Native Americans off of that planet because they knew what was happening. They were like, listen,
maybe they come to collect the body, or
and they
something.
go to Predator World and they hang out and they eat like
just Predators like the Jeff Bezos. He's going on a pleasure cruise to kill people.
Yeah. So I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. Thinking you're gonna be bear lunch, but you don't because a nice almost 7-foot monster kills the bear. And with that, Danny, what's the final word?
Bare naked ladies.
It's been 1 week.